There is a place on the map where the boundary between order and chaos is separated by just a stream. It is the border between Myanmar and China. On this side is China, with smooth roads, brightly lit high-rise buildings, police patrolling hourly, and surveillance cameras everywhere. On the other side is Myanmar, dark and enveloped by vast forests and mountains, with shabby houses and occasional gunshots echoing through the night. Why is the China-Myanmar border extremely complex and also a haven for criminals? The Myanmar-China border stretches nearly 2,000 kilometers, winding through the high mountains of China's Yunnan province and states like Kachin and Shan in Myanmar. On the map, it seems very clear, but upon arrival, one realizes that parts of this border exist only on paper. In reality, it is a stretch of dense forests, valleys, and deep streams where people from both sides have lived intermixed. There, dozens of ethnic minorities live intertwined, including Han Chinese, Kachin, Shan, Kokong, Lisu, Aka, and Long people. Each ethnic group has its own language, customs, and worships its own deity. What's special about this area is that many communities don. There are villages in Myanmar where people speak only Chinese, use Chinese currency, and even get phone signals from across the border. And in Yunnan, there are villages where Myanmar people have come to marry, farm, and live as if in their own country. This is undoubtedly a blurred land. Since Myanmar gained independence in 1948, the country has never truly been unified. The ethnic groups in the northern mountains have always wanted to break away and establish their own. The central government is weak, and the military is always strong in the lowland. As a result, the entire border area with China has become a gray zone, meaning it's either clearly lined or clearly not. A place where the state lacks sufficient power, and armed groups sprout like mushrooms. In the north is the Kachin region, controlled by the independent Kachin army. They hold a very large jade mine, extracting some of the world's most precious green jade stones. In the east is the Wasay, home to the United Wasay Army, with up to 30,000 soldiers, armored vehicles, anti-aircraft guns, and notably, alleged ties with China. The Chinese there speak Mandarin, use Chinese currency, and goods in the markets are all labeled made in China. In fact, Chinese influence there is greater than that of the Myanmar government. And in the Kokong region, right next to the Yunnan border, people almost regard China as their ancestral homeland. They have long-established migrant Chinese communities forming their own group, with their own language, laws, and even local militias. Myanmar is just a name on it. Thus, despite border fences and checkpoints, no country fully controls this area in reality. Myanmar is too weak, and China cannot openly intervene. Between them are a series of small fiefdoms, each with its own boss, its own rules. Each even has its own flag. This is the hottest spot in the world. Before discussing hot stories, it's hot militarily. This border region is the route connecting China to the Indian Ocean and the Belt and Road Initiative. China built the Kiokpyu port in southern Myanmar, then extended oil and gas pipelines through the mountains. Crossing Shan State and running straight to Kunming in China. After the 2021 Myanmar coup, border conflicts escalated further, ethnic armed groups, already armed and territorial, now allied against the Myanmar government military. Thus, this border is both a battlefield, a diplomatic chessboard, and a showcase for China's soft power. But that is not the most frightening thing. The most frightening thing in this area is not the gunfire, but what happens in silence, behind high concrete walls and electric fences. It's the computers in the national fraud centers. While the military is busy fighting, the government weakens, lost pay, criminal gangs seize the opportunity to build entire fraud cities. Outside, they may hang signs like high-tech zones, e-commerce centers, or more beautifully, foreign investment projects. But inside are tightly sealed buildings, heavily guarded with guns, thousands of computers running 24/7. There, tens of thousands of people, deceived or kidnapped from everywhere, China, Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Malaysia, are forced to work as slaves. They have to sit at computers much longer than regular office workers, posing as investment agents, fake lovers sweet-talking. And sometimes they are allowed to call or message you. Those who don't meet sales targets will inevitably face a painful end. The UN estimates that in northern Myanmar's border area alone, over 100,000 people are forced to labor in such fraud centers. Some call this place the Silicon Valley of crime because everything is modern, only the purpose is dirty. And to better understand the complexity of this place, let's look at the clans that once dominated the border region. In recent years, China has vigorously cracked down, and a series of clans that once ruled the border have collapsed, following trials that shocked all of Asia. First is the Ming clan, a fraudulent dynasty of the Kokong region. This is certainly one of the most famous stories. The Ming clan, also known as the Ming family, is an ethnic Chinese lineage in the Kokong region, that is, County Kong, in the north. For many years, they controlled this area like their own kingdom, with armed forces, power plants, guard posts, and numerous high-tech industrial parks that were actually centers for online fraud. The most frequently mentioned leader is Ming Shicheng, a true warlord. Under his command was a network of businesses, banks, and thousands of employees forced to work in complex fraud zones. Outwardly, Ming Shicheng was called a businessman, but border residents called him the Ming King, who controlled the life and death of tens of thousands in the fraud zones. In 2023, during a special operation, as resistance groups seized many strongholds in the area, the Myanmar government cooperated with China to hunt down criminal kingpin. Ming Shicheng and his family were arrested and headed over to China, after which a court in Wenzhou held a trial, sentencing 11 members of the Ming clan, including his son and brother, to the highest penalties. And you know, what is China's highest penalty? If the Ming clan was a criminal dynasty, then Bai Chucheng was a borderland warlord. He was a peculiar figure, both a businessman, a military commander, and a power broker. Bai Chucheng was once the head of the Kokong alliance, controlling much of eastern Shanxi. Under the guise of autonomy, he maintained his own armed forces, protecting gambling, prostitution, and fraud operations. However, by 2024, everything turned. After China launched a cross-border anti-fraud campaign, the Myanmar government was forced to show goodwill. As a result, Bai Chucheng and 10 close associates were arrested and extradited. International media described this as a historic handover, as Bai Chucheng was previously considered untouchable. Third case, immediately after the Ming trial, China continued to expand, trying 16 more members of the Myanmar cross-border fraud network, sentencing many to death or life imprisonment. This trial was broadcast live, as a way to send a warning to tens of thousands of criminals hiding in the border areas. The media emphasized that this was not just about punishing individuals, but purging the entire criminal network that had tarnished the nation's. Those 16 members of the fraud alliance, including former businessmen and foreign investors who had used legal fronts to launder money for the centers. The image of the 16 standing in the dock became a warning to criminals in the border region. The fourth case is that of Wang Sheng. Among the victims dragged into the fraud network, the story of Wang Sheng, a young Chinese hacker, outraged public opinion. Wang Sheng was invited to Thailand for a film project, but upon arrival, he was taken directly to the Myanmar border and imprisoned in a fraud center. He was forced to work 12 hours a day, pretending to be a cryptocurrency investor and talking to victims online. After a few months, thanks to an international rescue operation, he was saved and recovered. Wang Zheng's account revealed the sophistication of these networks. They even set up film companies to lure young people with good looks and communication skills, then turn them into tools for fraud. And looking back over a decade ago, the name Kong, also known as No Kong, was once the terror of the entire Golden Triangle region. He ran drug trafficking, kidnapping, and boat hijacking operations on the Mekong River. In 2011, after the murder of 13 Chinese sailors, Beijing sent special forces to Laos to capture No Kong and bring him to trial, where he received the highest penalty in 2013. Back then, border criminals were traditional kingpins, river lords. Now, the nature of crime has changed. Instead of trafficking drugs, they traffic emotions, using the internet, love, and virtual money for crossing. If No Kong symbolized the era of gun crime, then figures like Chen Ji, whose $15 billion in assets were seized by the US for money laundering and manipulating fraud networks in Cambodia, represent the era of digital crime. What they have in common is relying on weak border areas, corrupt governments, and complex terrain to hide their activities. But unlike No Kong, digital kingpins like Chen Ji or Ming Shicheng don't need to point guns at anyone. They just need a mouse click to drain money from thousands, even tens of thousands of victims across Asia. In summary, the Myanmar-China border is a perfect example of the dark side of globalization. Modern technology, high-speed internet, e-wallets, and digital currency were created to help people connect and develop, but are being exploited to sustain an entire criminal economy. Across the border, China is developing rapidly with booming urbanization and e-commerce. But just a few hundred meters away in Myanmar lies a world of poverty and war, where people are turned into tools to scam others through the very internet. This blurred boundary shows that in the era of globalization, technology can connect everything,
but can also erase the line between legal and illegal. Thank you for following this story.
If you found it interesting, please subscribe to The Hidden Ledger, turn on notifications, and for now, please don't say goodbye.
Join Haitan's story. Travel through lands. Discover new things.
Don't hesitate, leave your feedback,
and hope to see you again soon.
Subscribe to The Hidden Ledger to watch the latest videos.